And we're back with episode 43 of Dog Football Weekly. It's your host, Reed, with your co-host
Russ.
And Russ. Been a while. Been waiting to do some new content. Really kind of a slow spring in the Georgia football program. Not much going on to really talk about. Took a couple months off, but we're back today. Just first off, Russ, just tell us how you've been over these past couple months.
Well, I've been living the dream, just kind of hanging out and whatnot. But, just been doing sports and everything else. It's just been kind of a crazy time.
No kidding. Getting ready for a big-time senior year. Going for three state championships. Going for the clean sweep this senior year.
Mm-hmm.
But, Russ, without further ado, and let's just go right into it, just tell me what has, Georgia baseball ends its season last night in a heartbreaker against NC State. That's kind of the first thing that comes to my mind in the state of Georgia right now. Just tell me what your initial thoughts were about this team, this season as a whole, and really kind of the ending yesterday.
Well, the whole team as a whole, to me, I really liked the team. I thought they had a really good chance to make it far and make it to the World Series and whatnot.
Mm-hmm.
But ultimately, there was one guy on the team that everybody was just, relying on that guy.
Yep.
And he got them to where they were. And I think, you can't blame it on him, their loss to NC State. But he didn't perform in that third game.
Yep.
And, it was a good team. And I think that, they were solid all around. And I think they have a good chance to come back next year and show some more of what they got without, their best player.
Yeah, I hate it for the team. Going into this year, I really didn't know what this Georgia team was going to have. You gut the whole coaching staff, kind of changed the culture, changed the program. I didn't think it would be this fast that they'd be back in the national spotlight as a premier team in the country. They were the number 7 seed nationally, which, if no upsets happen, you're going to Omaha and playing next week. But, I loved the atmosphere. I loved how Foley Field kind of turned back into an elite environment again, like it should be. Georgia shows out for its teams, teams whenever they're playing at a respectable level. And really, Coach Strickland over the past couple of years had that team kind of headed down a path where it was just like they were all right. They'd win a series here and there. They'd make the national tournament, but they're never making any noise. But, we saw that team go through the regional and not lose a game. But I was super proud of how they responded. Friday or Saturday, you get your teeth kicked in, 18-1. And everybody's going, oh, gosh, you're going home Sunday. And, they come back out swinging Sunday, win a ball game. And then last night, you just ran out of pitching and you just didn't. NC State swung the bat well. And defensively, they just made plays. I don't know the name of that center fielder for NC State, but he made one heck of a catch late in the game. That ball, probably not getting out. It was to the deepest part of the field. But, it was going to be a 2-run scoring double that keeps you that would have made it a 1-run game at that point. But, I was super proud of that team for fighting. Even to the end, they fought. It sucks that a guy like Charlie Condon won't get to play in the College World Series. It sucks that he ends his career not getting to play on the biggest stage. Corey Collins, everything he's done for that program. The young guy, Trey Phelps, just the swagger and everything he brings to the table. It sucks that you don't get to see that on a broader and bolder stage. And I do think that Georgia fans would have shown out in that moment, in those situations. But, regardless of that, I'm proud of this team. I'm excited for Georgia baseball's future. I'm excited to see what they do next year. I I've been hearing rumblings of a lot of changes being made as far as guys leaving, but I think that this team's set up for success in the future.
Well, I mean, and like you said, it gives Georgia fans something to be excited about during baseball season. I mean, football's not all year round. Georgia fans want to go to games, and one thing that I noticed, I went to a game. They played Texas A&M, I think.
Yeah.
We went and watched. Those tickets were like $20. The tickets to that super regional game were like $200.
Yeah.
And I mean that's good for the school. People paying to go watch the baseball games.
Yeah, it's great. Great to see. I mean, Kudzu Hill, seeing that packed out, seeing people having a good time, the camaraderie, lighting up Foley Field like it's Sanford, that atmosphere. I mean, I wanted to be up there. Last weekend I was looking at regional games, trying to buy tickets to go watch them play Tech Sunday night. I didn't work out, and then I was at Hobie this past weekend. Shout out to everybody from there, so I couldn't attend the super regional, but it's something where I've never really had a desire. I've always watched Georgia baseball. I've always supported the team, watching, but I've never really had a desire to, like, oh man, I just am dying to go to a game. But seeing that environment just sparked a new interest and a new passion in something that really before I was like, whatever,
Yeah, I mean, it was just like, well, they're okay, and like you said, it's like a culture shift is happening slowly at Georgia, and that, I mean, it's really good for the school and the fans and everything.
I think it's a major salute and a major kind of tip your cap to UGA's athletic director, Josh Brooks, former guest on the podcast, by the way, coming up on almost a year on that episode. But, this wouldn't have happened without his ultimate – I mean, he's the one who's going out and getting these guys. He's the one who's hiring these coaches. And, listen, he's putting Georgia basketball's on the rise, Georgia baseball's on the rise, Georgia football is arguably the premier program in the country right now. And Athens is a college town. You're not in Atlanta. You're not in Austin, Texas is a college town. You're not in, Los Angeles. You're not in these other big cities or Miami where it's just like, oh, well, yeah, the college is there, but this other stuff reigns supreme. No, you're in a college town where the college is the town. And I think I think we're entering a golden era or a golden age of Georgia sports.
Yeah, no doubt.
But, Russ, kind of shifting topics, kind of shifting subjects. A lot of times and stuff of that nature has been coming out recently about Georgia's football schedule. As you know, like I do, our show is a football show. Georgia travels to Alabama and then comes back home to play Auburn the following week. That two-game stretch, describe to me kind of the feeling or the emotion that you get from hearing at Alabama and then Auburn at home.
Well, I'm going to be completely honest with Alabama's game. I mean, we're a better football team than Alabama is. It's just the environment that we're going into. Tuscaloosa at nighttime. That's just going to be a hard-fought game, and it doesn't really matter who the best team is there. It's who can execute and play to the best of their ability. And Alabama has the advantage there. I mean, it's their fans. I'm sure a lot of Georgia fans will go and support, but on the Auburn, I think Auburn, to be honest with you, I think it's going to be a cakewalk.
Ooh.
In Athens, our fans, it's just, I don't see how that game can even be close.
Yep. I don't know. To me, Kirby Smart has cemented his legacy at Georgia, but Alabama still feels like a step ahead of this program just because they haven't. I mean, let's be honest, Russ. I mean, that's been the kryptonite of this program over the past, 7 years? It's been Bama. It's been Bama. It's been Bama. Nick Saban's gone. Kalen DeBoer is a great coach. I'm not discrediting him. But you can't get out. You have a better roster, definitely, this year. You cannot get out coached in this game. I'm not going to call it a must-win game for Kirby Smart because we all know that he's not going anywhere. Even if he goes 0-12 this year, he's not leaving. But it feels like okay, you need to win this one. Texas, that's going to be a dogfight on the road. That's no cakewalk. That's no double-digit victory. That's no already marked as a W, although I think they will win that game. Bama's the one where, for me, on this schedule, where it's like you have to go do that. Even if Alabama goes 6-6 this year, you have to go beat Bama early in the year. It's going to be hyped up. It's going to be a big-time matchup. But it's really put up or shut up. You know? And Auburn, Hugh Freeze is building something over there sneakily, kind of in the dark, in the shadows of what's going on in Alabama, because there's been so much turmoil and chaos this offseason that we kind of all put Hugh Freeze and Auburn on the back seat. And just we're kind of like, yeah, you'll have fun back there. We kind of put them at the kids' table. At the dinner table in the SEC. We bring in Texas and Oklahoma. LSU looking, Brian Kelly's got that program hopefully trending, I think, in the right direction. Kalen DeBoer took over at Bama. Sark's from Texas. Lane Kiffin, Ole Miss. Us. And then, you got Josh Heupel at Tennessee. That program, you're hearing buzz about that team. But Auburn's kind of just sitting there. I think they're going to have a sneaky good year, Russ. I think, are they going to come in to Athens, Georgia in front of 93,000 and just run Georgia off the field? No, they're not. They can make it a ball game 100%. But I don't see a Hugh Freeze team. I don't see Kirby not having his guys ready for that game because that is a huge game every year, and it's one I think Kirby makes an emphasis on with his guys about making a statement with Auburn. Georgia's really had its way with Auburn over the last in the Kirby era, it's almost been a decade, really, if you can believe it. But I think he's going to make a statement in that game after a big win in Alabama, hopefully the week before.
Well, like I said about Auburn, I think it's going to be a pretty, one-sided game. But I will give it to you. The Auburn program is getting better. I'm not going to downgrade what they have and what they're doing. I don't think that this is their year to, explode on the scene.
Mm-hmm.
But I think for sure they're trending in the right direction.
You can think what you want about Hugh Freeze and what he did during his time at Ole Miss, but he's undeniably a very good football coach. They had Alabama on the ropes this past year. If Jalen Milroe doesn't pull off the play of the century to end the football game, he's got to win against Bama. They had Georgia on the ropes at Auburn now. Obviously, Jordan Harris is a next-level atmosphere in the conference and in the country. But I do think that they have that program going in a direction to where, listen, in 2 to 3 years, there are going to be too many teams in the SEC that are national title contenders. That's what I see trending. I see Texas is going to have a lasting team. I think Oklahoma, some people think they're falling off with Brent Venables. I still think that they're going to consistently have a good football team. You got Georgia in the East. Tennessee still seems to be on the rise. You don't know what's going to happen with Bama, but they're at the cream of the crop. I think LSU's still building. I think Auburn's building. Ole Miss, Lane Kiffin has that team reaching new heights that I don't think they've ever seen. I think Ole Miss is going to be a playoff team this upcoming year. It's getting crowded, Russ. It's getting crowded, and it's great for. You go ahead.
It's hard to think that with a 12-team playoff, that 8 or 9 of these teams are not going to be coming from the SEC. That's clearly the best option to put there. Mm-hmm. They can't do it obviously because of the got to have a certain record and all this.
Mm-hmm.
But I mean, the college football playoffs is pretty much all year long in the SEC.
Yeah. I mean, what I think about is this. Let's go back to your 2024 playoff. You got Michigan, you got Bama, you got Washington and Texas. Okay, Michigan wins a title. People are like, this Michigan team is great. This Michigan team, great team, NFL, talent. The Georgia team from this past year would have been at least a 10-point favorite against that team. And then obviously, does Georgia buy the college football playoff? Whatever, I don't know. In my mind, if Bama is allowed to be in the playoff, Georgia's allowed to be in the playoff. That's just me. But because if we're going by the best four, Georgia's clearly your best team if we're looking at a holistic resume thing. But, we've already discussed this time and time again about our whole issue with the playoff committee and, their selection process. But I don't know. I think football, the SEC football style that, that we're used to and we're acclimated to, I think that it's getting more and more competitive. And listen, the ACC, I don't know how much longer that conference is going to be around. Florida State's going to need a home. Clemson's going to need a home. Miami's going to need a home. North Carolina's going to need a home. These are good football teams just kind of that want to be a part of maybe the greatest football group ever assembled. And it's trending in a direction that I don't necessarily love. I love traditional conferences that are kind of regionally selected. I don't like Stanford playing in the ACC or SMU playing in the ACC. The Atlantic Coastal Conference means teams on the Atlantic Coast. The SEC stands for the Southeastern Conference, not the best football team conference. The Big Ten, that's for a long time been considered a Midwest, Northeast thing, and now, we're adding USC, UCLA, Washington, Oregon, but if they, there's a reason those people have those jobs, and, I'm not one of them, so I can't really sit here and critique, but that is really just my whole take on that.
Yeah, it's hard to think that some of the not really, just the lower down conferences, I guess you would say, it's hard to think that they're just dissolving because of the super conference being formed, pretty much.
And I feel like, you're losing the college aspect of college football. I feel like you're losing it's turning into a professional league, basically. It's turning into the minor leagues, which I don't think the college league should be. I think college football has been a separate, obviously it's a feeder into the NFL. The best college players are going to go to the NFL, no doubt. But there's an aspect of college football that we're losing, and we're losing it rapidly to where it's like 10 years from now, we may not know the sport.
Yeah.
But that's going to be it for today's episode of Dog Football Weekly. We hope you enjoy.